the weather conditions are absolutely perfect. Hello and welcome to Boarding Now with me, Jeremy Spake. Our show has a very autumnal feel to it today, which is why we're coming to you from the great outdoors, or more precisely, the Rabness Nature Reserve close to Mistley in northeast Essex. More from the reserve a little bit later in the show, but let's take a quick look at what's coming up. We're heading to Japan for an alternative look at this Asian odyssey. And we'll be discovering the land of the Vikings when we visit Sweden. We'll also be enjoying an autumnal staycation in delightful Dorset. I'll also be bringing you the latest news of what's hot in the travel industry. To get our voyage of discovery underway, we are heading to Northern Europe to explore sensational Scandinavia. Our first destination gave us ABBA and IKEA. Feast your eyes on this. Sweden is the largest of the Nordic countries and the fifth largest country in Europe. But when it comes to its population, just 10.6 million people live in this Scandic beauty. We begin our autumnal trip through Sweden in its capital, Stockholm. The city stretches across 14 islands where Lake Mälaren flows into the Baltic Sea. We could show you city centre highlights, but this is an alternative look at Sweden where outdoor activities take priority, soaking up the splendour of the country. So we recommend getting on your bike to explore the capital. If cycling's not your thing, perhaps a bit of rock climbing in Stockholm's island archipelago is more your bag. Keep going, girl, you're nearly there. You're doing better than I would. Hiring a yacht allows visitors the chance to explore the archipelago's craggy inlets surrounded by typical Scandinavian scenery. For the less energetic, why not hop on a boat for a tour of the islands, at the end of which you can indulge in a bite to eat whilst people watching across the bay. As the sun starts to set over Stockholm, adopt a Viking stance by grabbing your paddle for a late afternoon kayak tour of the city. The backdrop as you paddle will capture the splendour of Stockholm. Before retiring for the evening, don those skates and enjoy one last burst of energy at the city centre ice rink. The high-energy tourism of Stockholm gives way to a more leisurely pace south of the city, where the glorious colours of autumn provide the backdrop to a guided forest tour. Your experienced local guide will take you back in time as you explore Viking history. Perhaps the best part of the hike is bathing in the autumn sun, finding your inner zen surrounded by trees bursting with colour. Sorry folks, I don't do jogging. It's bad for the knees, you know. Having found your inner calm, it's time to grab your paddle again to explore more of the archipelago. But before you get too carried away, why not enjoy a picnic by the water's edge? With so many tiny islands to choose from, pick your very own and make it home for the night. Simply wonderful. After a night under the stars, head for Malmö for a little bit of city life. The city is the third largest in Sweden and was once the most industrialised city in the country.
Borde sett det, men det är faktiskt inte så lätt det. Hur jag ska få dig fatta det rätt, det är ett problem för mig. Hur gör man sig?
Since 2000, Malmö has been undergoing a transformation to adapt to an ever-changing world. But some of its industrial buildings now provide the backdrop for museums, housing and shops, all of which can be enjoyed by visitors with or without a bike or a skateboard. You wouldn't mind seeing if they've got a jar of pickled herring in there, would you, girl? Cheers. Why not end your visit to Malmö with a dip in the outdoor pool, which looks, well, a lot like a British pier if you don't mind me saying. Hopping on a local train and heading north towards the Arctic Circle is the perfect way to continue your Scandinavian activity break. The archipelagos of the south give way to impressive forests and lakes where you can enjoy virtual solitude and breathtaking vistas. I'd recommend joining some of the locals on a foraging experience, but be sure to pay attention to what they're picking before you go indulging in any of the forest bounty. We don't want an upset stomach, do we? Make the most of the forest by hiring a mountain bike and explore the wilderness. End your stay in Sweden by spending a night or two under canvas on the forest's edge. You might be lucky enough to experience one of Mother Nature's most spectacular shows. The dramatic landscapes, friendly people and great food make Sweden a very popular destination with tourists, and it's easy to see why. Here's a bit of handy information. Average temperatures for May and June range between +6 and +21 degrees. For the autumnal months of October and November, you can expect anything between +4 and +10. For the peak tourism months of July and August, you can expect anything between +13 and 22 degrees. How lovely. You'll need Swedish krona to pay for anything, but your credit and debit cards are widely accepted throughout the country. Sweden has fantastic public transport, so why not use trains or buses to get about? Be sure to eat like a local by enjoying meatballs, toast skagen, which is shrimp toast, or my personal favourite, pickled herring. Really? Love 'em. No surprises for guessing that Swedish is the official language. Panic not though folks, because English is widely spoken. Reaching Sweden from your regional airport couldn't be easier. Here's just a few options of how to get there. Package holidays are available with EasyJet Holidays, Jet2 Holidays, lastminute.com and TUI. There are other operators, you'll find their details on the internet. Direct flights from the UK are available with British Airways, EasyJet, Ryanair and Scandinavian Airlines. Connecting flights are available with Air France, KLM and Lufthansa via their respective hubs. Autumn can be a tricky time to try and enjoy a staycation. The unpredictable weather often puts people off spending time relaxing in Britain, which I think is a pity, as there's still plenty to see and do even if the weather is a bit miserable, as I discovered when I headed to Dorset in pursuit of some R&R. Britain is blessed with lots and lots of picturesque villages, and the county of Dorset is no exception, which is why I'm starting my autumnal vacation here in Corfe Castle. I hope the sun stays with me. The village stands over a gap in the Purbrick Hills on the route between Wareham and Swanage, and its name is derived from the Old English word kilfan, meaning to cut or carve, which in this case was through the hills. I'm a big fan of the village, which has at its heart the imposing ruins of Corfe Castle, which today is managed by the National Trust. I'm not sure I'd have made a very good soldier in one of these here castles, because it's quite a climb. The castle was built by William the Conqueror in the 11th century and was one of the first castles in England to be built in part using stone rather than earth and timber. Still climbing. In 1572, the castle left the Crown's control when it was sold by Elizabeth I to Sir Christopher Hatton. Keep going, Jezza.
15 years old, smoking and rolled cigarettes. Running from the law through the backfields and getting drunk with my friends.
I made it to the top, get me, and what a view, it is absolutely spectacular. And it's easy to see why the castle was built here, with these uninterrupted views of the surrounding countryside.
house, and when we got paid, we'd buy
The castle was turned to ruins during the English Civil War.
It was in fact one of the last royalist strongholds in the south of England until 1645, when the parliamentarians besieged it and laid it to ruins. What a shame. Time for me to head back down into the valley and make tracks to my next destination. I'm starting my train ride to Swanage at Norden Station rather than Corfe Castle, as the parking is easier. Here comes my chariot. My best friend has joined me for the ride, Gorby, my beagle, who's clearly raring to go. The Battle of Britain class locomotive honouring RAF Manston gets a typical Gorby welcome. The line has been operating as a heritage railway since 1976, and like so many of the country's historic lines, relies on an army of volunteers to keep things moving. Trains from Wareham to Swanage first operated along these tracks in 1885, when the line was opened after 40 years of campaigning by the businessmen of Swanage.
Unfortunately, Michael Portillo, I've left my Bradshaw's guide at home. What a mistake to make.
Each station is lovingly maintained, and Gorby seems suitably impressed by the ride. Thank heavens for that.
Just now arriving into Swanage, the other end of the line. Well, I've done a 20-minute journey from Norden with Swanage Railways and arrived at the end of the line here in Swanage. It was definitely worth it because although it's autumn and it is quite fresh, there's plenty of people on the beach.
Although I'm unlikely to be strucking my stuff in my budgie smugglers, it's a bit too fresh for that. Thank heavens for that, we didn't want to see you in them anyway. Gorby loves being by the sea, although he's not a fan of the water. The sand's more than enough to entertain him though. Swanage was originally a small port and fishing village which flourished in the Victorian era, thanks largely to the train bringing the well-to-do down to the coast for a bit of relaxation.
Like in the beach huts.
Not exactly the bathing huts the Victorians would have used, but delightfully formed nonetheless. Shall we stop over there, Gorby? It'd be rude not to, wouldn't it?
The stick on the doggy one is edible.
Oh, is it?
Dog shit, yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Alright.
I don't know about you folks, but you can't come to the seaside and not have an ice cream, can you? Rhubarb and ginger.
I've chosen to rent a converted farm building for the next few days, which is conveniently located close to Blandford Forum, a great base for all the places I want to visit. I know, it feels a bit like I'm about to burst into a rendition of Holmes Under the Hammer, but fear not, I certainly won't be.
The sun is trying desperately to come out here in delightful Dorset, but my next destination may not be for everybody. These fellas behind me are a bit of a clue.
The museum is located approximately 12 miles to the west of Poole and is home to an impressive collection that traces the history of the tank. In fact, with almost 300 vehicles, it's the third largest collection of armoured vehicles in the world.
I must confess, I'm not really a fan of war or for that matter any kind of conflict or aggression towards others, but this museum does appear to be a fitting tribute to the men and women who took part in some of the most deadliest engagements in our history. Oh, binoculars. No, there's nothing in there, just binoculars. Ha ha ha! I got that one right. Hang on. Oh yeah, that does feel sort of mine shaped. Not that I'm a mine expert, you understand. Let's have a look. Yes, indeedy.
The museum offers visitors an array of immersive experiences, many of which focus on the human impact of war.
We're taking our role as air raid warden very seriously.
Desert warfare features in several locations around the museum, and the dedicated exhibition to the recent situation in Afghanistan serves as a salient reminder that peace remains a very fragile thing. Perhaps the most poignant part of the museum is here.
I don't think I'm going to pass the basic physical test, I'm afraid, fella.
Whilst I jest about my own physical failings, this exhibition really makes you think about the horrors of war.
This is trench warfare in the First World War. Fortunately, I failed the basic physical test at the entry, so I've been let off. Thank the Lord for that. I would have hated this. What you can't actually feel at the moment is underneath us. I'm sitting on a tea chest and the bombs are going off above us as though I was in the trench at night, and it's rumbling. It's quite eerie, not very pleasant at all.
Hello, this is Captain Teasdale at Ginchy. It's about this hush-hush business. I've had the white tapes laid out as ordered, but are you sure these things can get across the trenches and over the wire? Well, if you're sure, but the ground is terrible out there.
I've certainly seen all the tanks I'm going to see for the rest of the year, and I'm doing something slightly different, but for this I've had to cross slightly over the border into Devon. Come with me to find out.
The Donkey Sanctuary, located close to Sidmouth, was started by Elizabeth Svensson in 1969 after she visited a market in Exeter and saw 7 small donkeys crammed into a small pen. By 1974, Elizabeth was caring for more than 200 donkeys, and her charitable work to improve the welfare of these fab animals around the world was well and truly underway.
This is quite nice because they've converted one of the stables into a timeline of the events that have taken place for the sanctuary. Quite like that.
Competing for attention with the donkeys can be a tough job. The main reception building houses an excellent exhibition highlighting the work of the sanctuary around the world, to include Africa, where donkeys are still very much a part of farming life. Getting up close and personal with the donkeys is the highlight of any visit, and the well-designed site means it's accessible to all.
How marvellous is this? Look at all these lovely donkeys. so much nicer than tanks, don't you think?
We agree with you, Jezza. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, and it's tipping down. Still, no time to be moping around and letting the typical British weather get to me. I'm off to Shaftesbury.
The best laid plans. This is an autumnal break, of course, and I'm actually just surrounded by an electrical storm at the moment. It just went straight off over the top of us. It probably won't happen again now, and you'll think I'm being a lightweight. But hey ho, that's what you get when you come out in the autumn.
That fresh bread smells delicious. This quaint town can trace its history back to Anglo-Saxon times, and in 880 Alfred the Great founded a fortified settlement here as a defence against Danish invaders.
The weather's taken a turn for the worse. I've had to seek refuge under a tree, it's so bad. And the shame of it is that this is Shaftesbury, which is the only significant settlement on a hill in the county of Dorset, and I was hoping to be able to show you the wonderful views of the Blakemore Vale, which leads down to the River Stour, but that's not going to happen, I'm afraid. One of the main reasons for coming to Shaftesbury is to visit a hill which was made famous in the 1970s. See if you can tell me why.
This is Gold Hill, and the music is a bit of a clue. You got it. The hill was used by Ridley Scott in his advert for Hovis bread. I might not have a bike, or any bread for that matter, but I must walk up the hill as a homage to the delivery lad.
I've decided I'm going to go indoors because the rain is beginning to get to me a little bit, if I'm honest. So I've come to Kingston Lacy, which is the ancestral home of the Banks family. This particular property has a very Venetian feel to it. Let's go and have a look inside.
This imposing hall became the seat of the Banks family after the English Civil War destroyed their original home of Corfe Castle. The passions and obsessions of William John Banks shaped the Kingston Lacy we see today after he inherited the property from his late father in 1834. William John loved nothing more than to travel, and this played a key role in how he redesigned the house, with the Venetian style taking preference. Opulence and grandeur were the order of the day, and this is certainly true in the Spanish room, which is adorned with leather wallpaper and lots of fine art. The state bedroom is equally as grand, although I'm not sure I'd have been able to get a good night's sleep.
I'm guessing this is the white bedroom.
You're absolutely right.
Was this always a bedroom? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes, this has been largely unchanged as I understand it. Most of the other rooms have been changed for different uses over the years. Well, it's had 400 years, so...
They're so busy, aren't they?
Yes, there's so many things, but unusually a lot in this room, they're photographs.
Yeah, right.
Rather than
Paintings, yeah. Oh, yes, so they are, you're right.
Paintings are obviously quite something, but you get a bit more feel for how things looked or how they dressed or whatever.
Imagine coming down here in your evening wear, all dolled up for a party.
It could be argued that William John's greatest gift to the estate was his collection of Egyptian artefacts, which he collected during his travels along the Nile.
The weather's not playing ball, as you would expect, because let's face it, this is an autumnal break. So I've decided, after all the excitement of looking around Kingston Lacy Hall, beautiful building by the way, then I'd have a hot chocolate to warm me up. I'm still supposed to be on a diet.
Having indulged in a hot chocolate, time to burn off a few calories, and where better to do that than in the grounds of the Hall. The landscape grounds offer visitors an array of experiences, but I'm keen to visit one specific part of the gardens.
I think this is my favourite space at Kingston Lacey. This is the Oriental Garden. It's very peaceful and very quiet.
With its Japanese theme, this part of the grounds is absolutely bursting with colour at this time of year, and I think I've discovered the perfect spot for some me time.
It's absolutely beautiful in here. This is known as the silent space, which is why I'm whispering. All these wonderful bamboos. I love it.
Having found my inner zen amongst the bamboo, it's time for me to head back to the coast to one of Dorset's most famous coves.
There's a town that I know where a wild wind blows from across those channels.
Lulworth is a World Heritage Site and enjoys up to 500,000 visitors every year. Thankfully, most of them come in July and August.
Lulworth Cove, and all the children are hunting for fossils because of course this is the Jurassic coastline.
And let's face it, no visit to Dorset would be the same without exploring some of that Jurassic coast. My penultimate stop happens to be one of my favourite seaside towns. Weymouth's history dates back to the 12th century, but it's thanks to the Georgians that the town enjoys some wonderful architecture. The beach is equally as impressive. Town centre's that way, mate. As you'd expect, the town has all the usual shops, so finding a souvenir is a breeze. And keeping the kids amused isn't too taxing with this splendid Victorian fairground. My favourite part of town is the old harbour. It may be small, but it's bustling with people and boats, and frankly is a great place to sit and soak up the centuries of history.
It's been a busy few days, folks. Time for a break. Cheers.
After a well-earned and somewhat delicious pint, I've just got time for one final visit to another of the county's chocolate box villages.
I'm ending my staycation here in Dorset just as it began, in one of the picturesque villages dotted throughout the county. I've really enjoyed myself despite the weather, and I will be back. It certainly rained a fair bit, but it didn't dampen my enjoyment in any way whatsoever. My only regret is that we found ourselves in the middle of an electric storm whilst filming in Shaftesbury, so it was difficult for us to show you how lovely it can be. Annoyingly, when we did our recce, the weather was gorgeous, and to prove it, take a look at this. See? As with any of our destinations we feature, there is always lots more to explore and discover than we can show you in the time we have available. But I hope I've whetted your appetite for a break in delightful Dorset. If so, here's a few options of how to get there.
Train services to Dorchester and beyond operate from across the UK. If you're travelling from London, you can use South West Railways. I chose to drive and use my handy GPS thingamajig to get me there. You could do the same. For the jet setters amongst you, why not use Dorset's very own international gateway, Bournemouth? Time now for some travel news. Lovers of country music will be thrilled to hear that Aer Lingus has announced the launch of direct services from its Dublin base to Nashville, Tennessee, commencing on the 12th of April 2025. The airline will be operating the route 4 times a week with convenient connections from across the UK. If Nashville's not your thing, perhaps you fancy trying the other new route announced by the Irish airline, Indianapolis. The airline will be offering its guests 4 flights a week from the 3rd of May 2025, also from its Dublin base, and like Nashville, convenient connections from across the UK are available. There are some great fares to be had to both destinations at the moment, and bookings are now live on the airline's website. TUI has responded to customer demand for additional flights and accommodation from the UK to Thailand by announcing an extra flight from London Gatwick to Bangkok on a Friday starting in December. This will mean that holidaymakers will now be able to opt for 10 and 11 night stays in addition to the 7 and 14 currently on offer. The operator has also introduced 13 new properties in Thailand, affording customers even greater choice. Travellers to Sierra Leone's capital Freetown will now be able to enjoy direct services from London Gatwick 3 times per week starting on the 2nd of December when the newly formed Air Sierra Leone takes to the skies. Flights will operate from the London Gateway on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and returns from Freetown operating on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays. The airline is offering convenient onward connections to other West African cities to include Accra in Ghana and Dakar in Senegal. We wish them good luck. And finally, fans of London Luton will be pleased to hear that Jet2 have announced that they will be basing 2 aircraft at the London airport from the 1st of April 2025 and will serve 17 routes to mainland Spain and its islands, as well as Portugal, the Greek islands, Turkey and Italy. The airline's sister company Jet2 Holidays already has the new destinations on sale, and some great introductory offers are currently available. Happy bargain hunting.
We'll be bringing you more news from the travel industry in our next episode. I mentioned at the top of the show how much I love autumn, especially if I can spend some time outdoors enjoying the wonderful vistas bursting with colour. Here, as promised, is a brief look at Rabness Nature Reserve and the surrounding area.
Radio's Vizda launches in the new year. Our all-new radio station will be bringing you great sounds, topical debate, and the news of the day. Among the presenters will be Jeremy Spake, who frankly could talk the hind legs off a donkey.
We'll be playing sounds chosen by you and chatting about stuff that matters to you. We'll also be throwing the odd prize your way because, well, without you, it will be boring.
Join our radio revolution via your favorite streaming gadget device thingy and help us make sure that Jeremy doesn't become a total Billy No-Mates.
At Boarding Now, we like to try and show you the less well-known sides to a destination. And this is certainly true of today's final stop. Japan, for many, conjures up frenetic cities, fast trains and bright lights. But there's a side to Japan that few tourists choose to explore.
This is Japan, but not as you might know it. We start our journey on Hokkaido, which is the second largest island of Japan. The island is famous for its winter ice festivals and the role it played in 1972 when it hosted the Winter Olympics in Sapporo. However, autumn offers visitors breathtaking autumnal vistas which are hard to beat, even though the sulphur springs might be a bit pungent. The island is home to no fewer than 7 national parks, each offering the hiker the chance to enjoy Mother Nature at her best. Waterfalls are plenty, although I don't recommend standing in awe for too long, as it might be a bit of a schlep to the nearest loo. If, like me, you're a fan of autumn, then the parks of Hokkaido won't disappoint. It's a veritable feast of colour. Kochi is located in the south of the country and is home to Japan's most intact Japanese castle. You could be forgiven for thinking that you've stepped back to a time when the samurai ruled over this ancient land in service to the emperor. The city of Kochi was built on the banks of the Shimanto River, one of the few undammed rivers of Japan, making it a great place to take to the water. This all looks very tame, doesn't it? I think I might have spoken too soon. This is the ideal spot to try your hand at wild water rafting. If all that adrenaline pumping water is too much for you, you could always hire a paddleboard and take it easy, as they say. One thing's for sure, you'll certainly have built up a bit of an appetite with all that paddling, so why not enjoy traditional food with a few of the locals? That doesn't look much like a bullet train, Jezza. Located in the north of Japan's largest island of Honshu, you'll find Akita, known to many thanks to the breed of dog with the same name. The brightly coloured but well-appointed train will bring you to the heart of one of Japan's main agricultural regions. After a short walk from the station, you'll find yourself in the heart of the rice paddies. Why not try your hand at being a farmer for the day with the very friendly locals? Helping to gather the rice means you can partake in a kiritampo masterclass. The curious cylindrical delicacies are made with mashed rice, which is wrapped around skewers and toasted over an open hearth and served with soup. And of course a glass or two of sake. When in Japan. The final stop on our alternative look at Japan brings us to the Nagano region of the country, which is located centrally on Honshu Island. The small town of Narayuku is the perfect location to experience traditional buildings and the lifestyle of a bygone era, and is a far cry from the hustle and bustle of modern Japan. A must for any visitor to the Nagano region is a walk through the Akasawa Recreational Forest, which feels a bit like the home of the hobbits. Once you've enjoyed a stroll along the tree-lined paths, you can let the train take the strain. Hop on the cable car and head for the Hakuba Mountaintop Resort, which in autumn affords you some spectacular views of the surrounding forest and snow-capped mountains. You'll most likely see sheep grazing at the same time. In winter, this is a busy ski resort, but in autumn, it's the perfect place just to sit back and soak up the majesty that is Mother Nature.
Autumn is certainly spectacular in Japan, and hopefully you've been pleasantly surprised by our alternative look at the land of the rising sun. It's certainly a country steeped in culture and tradition, so here's a bit of handy information about this Asian odyssey.
Average temperatures for November and December range between +4 and +15 degrees centigrade. A word of caution, wrap up to keep warm, the winds can be chilly. The peak tourist months of August and September, you can expect temperatures to range between +20 and +29 degrees centigrade. You'll need Japanese yen in your purse or wallet, but don't worry, credit cards and debit cards are widely accepted throughout the country. Train services in Japan are efficient, fast and great value for money. I'd recommend you use them. Why not enjoy some of the local cuisine, tonkatsu or deep fried pork, sushi and miso soup. Delicious. Konnichiwa. Yes, Japanese is the official language, although English is spoken in the tourist areas. Being polite in Japan is really important, so always remember to keep your manners about you.
We'll be back in Japan in 2025 to look at the more typical tourist trails. But in the meantime, here's a few options of how to get there if you fancy seeing rural Japan at its best.
Direct flights to Japan from the UK are available with All Nippon Airways, British Airways and Japan Airlines. Connecting services are also available with Etihad Airways, Finnair and Lufthansa via their respective hubs. Package holidays are available with Freedom Destinations, Kuoni and Travel Bag, as well as other operators.
Sadly, we're nearly out of time, which means I'm going to have to say farewell to this wonderful outdoor space. But before I bid you adieu, here's a quick look at what's coming up in the next show.
We'll be crossing to the other side of the world when we visit New Zealand, a southern star. We'll also be in search of Aurora Borealis when we visit the wonderful landscapes and dramatic sceneries of Iceland. And we'll be enjoying a staycation in the idyllic county of Suffolk.
Great lineup for the next time we're together in the Departure Lounge. As always, it's been great to be with you. And I hope you enjoyed our smorgasbord of autumnal destinations. Did you see what I did there? Did you have a favourite? Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? I liked them all. Please feel free to get in touch to let us know what you thought about the show. You can do so by emailing shows@jeremyspake.com or by completing the handy feedback form that can be found online at jeremyspake.com. Have you developed a bit of itchy feet whilst watching and now fancy exploring some of today's destinations for yourself? I sincerely hope so, as travel is the perfect way to broaden your horizons, in my very humble opinion, which is why we'll be back with you in 2025 with more inspirational destinations. In the meantime, be sure to stay safe, and I'll see you very soon.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss an episode. Boarding Now will be back with you in early 2025.